Okay, thanks everybody for joining us. I'm Joran. I think we all know each other, but I'm really glad you guys came. This was something that came about from the Professional Development Committee. That every time we're on a call, the conversation just goes, and people have to talk about what they're doing. You know, what challenges are you facing? What lessons have you learned? What challenges have you rocked? So they said, hey, let's try this platform for a little bit. So we've scheduled these for every other week. And we're starting today with our veteran facilitator, Laurie Harris from Duke University. Thanks for doing this, Laurie.
Sure, my pleasure. After the week I've been having, I can't wait to hear your war stories because I'll feel like I'm totally in my element with my group. But before we get started, I want to give a shout out to Jessica for her awesome Disney World backdrop. We used to live in Orlando and, you know, making me homesick there a little bit.
I have to get a little bit of my happy place going on in there.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, welcome everybody. I'm glad you're taking some time out from your schedule this afternoon. And as Joran said, you know, this is going to be a great place for us to talk about our challenges and things that are, you know, maybe hot topics of discussion on the discussion list. So I want to see a show of hands. Who's got students already moving in or, yeah, I just want to know who's in the middle of moving now. And, oh, there's Janine. Hey, Janine. And I guess Erin and Jessica, are you guys haven't started yet or? Okay, okay.
We don't have any residential students. We're all commuter. So.
Oh, okay. Okay, great. And Lynn, what about you? Do you have people moving in yet? Okay, great. Well, hopefully you'll pick up some information from those of us who are in the middle of move-in that may make your days a little bit easier in the coming weeks. So I want to just open the floor up and ask folks to share what kind of challenges are you facing right now? What's on your mind? Janine, I see you smiling because I know you have you have some things to talk about.
No, I told Jordan we're scared because we feel we're kind of going okay. And you're going to jinx me, okay? But I guess the only, I had mentioned to Jordan, the lesson learned for us has been normally we do really, really well on online photo submission. And early July, we were only at 50% of students who had done their photo and provisioning. So we went ahead and asked folks to come back in. We had an office discussion. Do we want to get it where we really, I feel like this was a better decision, and they did too, the staff did too, that we do everything we can in advance to get them to do this. Yep. And that meant direct calling. So for 2 weeks, they came in 3 days a week and called directly everyone that had not took care of business. After that, they came back full time on August 3rd, and we're still calling. We are down to the last 9% now.
Wow.
To get them to do it, but it's just trying to make sure that they can get in the res halls, that they can eat from day one, and that they don't have any issues. They know what to do. And if for some reason they need a card, we can identify that, print it, and have them just pick it up. But it's, for us, that lesson learned was we're going to have that touch to them, the direct touch. We couldn't do orientation because of online orientation. Without that, we dropped from high 90s down to 50% take rate towards the end of orientation, because they end in July. And so it took the direct calling. We probably made 4,000 calls out of this office.
Oh my goodness.
To get the numbers where they needed to be, but the staff was willing to do it because they have kept them out of the office. And so the staff has less exposure and the student has less exposure. So that's why I was smiling. I was just thinking about those 4,000 calls to get back to where we normally are without that. So I'm sorry, I'll shut up now.
Oh, no, that's, I find this whole back to school process just very It's interesting to me to hear how other people, other schools are doing it and what challenges you're having to face with this. You know, I don't know if this is happening at your universities, but at Duke, when you arrive on campus, you have to have signed up ahead of time for COVID testing. And you go and you get your COVID test done, then you get your Duke card. But your Duke card has all the access turned off on it until you go through the testing. Then they turn on the access, you go to your room, you quarantine there until you get your test results in 24 to 48 hours. But you still kind of have to stay in your res hall, you know, pretty much unless you're going out to eat on campus someplace, or unless you have a lab or something that happens in person. So this has just been the brave new world for us. I mean, we're not handing out cards, you know, we're not doing any of that. And we've had a few students who've not been able to complete that whole cycle because they didn't submit their photos. So they've had to do it, do it selfie style and get those in so we can get their cards made for them so they can complete their move-in process. Kim, what about you? What are you seeing at Emory?
Our process is similar, but we're doing rapid tests. We have 3 drive-in locations and 1 walk-up for students that are like flying in or what have you. And so our RAs started last week coming in, and our students, we're at a reduced density. They come in starting Wednesday. They go to their location for a test. They had to sign up in advance. And they wait 20 to 30 minutes. They get their results, and off they go to move into their residence hall. Unless they test positive, we're quarantining and isolating in our conference center hotel, where students will get meals delivered to them. They'll get their laundry taken care of, et cetera, et cetera. So all of our students have been told to pack like a go bag, because what's going to happen is that if they test positive, all of their stuff is going to be like sprayed with sanitizer and put off to the side, and they're going to have their go bag to go with them into the hotel. Now, students have the opportunity to return home if they want to do that, if that's feasible. But if they test positive, they have to go to the hotel. But so far, the rate has been extremely low. I think I was there on Monday, which was day 3, and they had only had 3 people test positive so far. So that was really good. The situation we're dealing with on our campus is that we have, like these protocols that you have to meet, these tasks you have to complete. They haven't decided yet how they're handling access. Like, are they going to give everybody, because we didn't have like a general access level where all academic buildings, were on this general access level. It was just, they opened at 7:30 in the morning and you could get in. And so now they're trying to figure out to give everybody that's met the standard this access level so that they can get in and out of campus buildings. They haven't figured that out yet, and I hope they figure it out by next Wednesday when school starts.
Who manages the access in your university?
Our security systems department through campus services.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. But it's, I mean, it's, it's not just them. It's, our IT department and HR and registrar and provost office and on and on and on and on and on. So that's a big conversation that hasn't been quite figured out yet. And then, I don't know how this is happening at your campuses, but people who, because most of our courses are online, but if, say you're a student and you're living in the apartment building across the street, that's not a residence hall, and you want to be able to get a meal plan, you have to complete the protocol so your card gets activated to be able to be on campus.
So
it's convoluted and crazy, but we're making it work.
I like that. That should be everybody's bumper sticker. We're making it work. Erin, what's going on? What school are you with?
I'm with Carleton in Ottawa, Canada.
Oh, great. Okay.
Maybe a few differences just based off of what the regulations are here. But as far as like things that have already been discussed, we're definitely running into similar issues with online applications not being as high as they usually have been. We're following all of our normal reminder email processes and adding some things on. But people just respond saying, well, I'm not coming, so why do it? Because we're in all online classes. So maybe a bit comforting, but at the same time, you just never know who's going to show up. And when the numbers don't match, you just don't know why all the time. So we're just having to go off of what we assume will happen and hope that it turns out for the best. Because we also have a lot of restrictions on number of people that can be in the office, based off spacing, all this kind of stuff. So we really only have what we have. And if people end up waiting longer than usual, then we'll have to figure it out and as we go. But there's just not much we can do at this late date to really impact a whole lot, I don't think. We'll just see what happens.
Well, good luck. You had mentioned about office density, you know, and how many people you have working in your offices. How's everybody doing with getting their physical offices themselves ready for whatever amount of foot traffic you're going to have to deal with in person?
We had to do a whole kind of documentation process that was approved by our risk management office, which I'm sure is what most people are doing. So our office has pretty much been ready since mid-July, and then we were just waiting on the approval from our multiple committees that now exist to actually open the building. So we were allowed to open, but the building wasn't allowed to open yet until just Monday. So then I've been in a couple times, and it's really funny because I almost forget where everything is, and all the things we normally do in like a May or June when it's not as busy, we would usually check all of our signage, make sure things are up to date, make sure things are printed or redesigns are done. And I'm walking around finding all these things in little shelves everywhere I look. They're like, that's not done, and that's not done, and that's not done. So we're just kind of throwing things at our marketing department. But it's working out so far.
So Dawn asked a question in the chat. Whose campuses are having face-to-face classes and which are all online, as Erin just spoke to? Jessica said she's got 80 to 90% online with some face-to-face. Lynn says SPU is currently planning all of the above, in-person, online only, and hybrid classes. What about the rest? And anybody have any other things? Janine, I see you just said we're a mix of online, face-to-face, and hybrid. We are too, but mostly mostly online.
But we're seeing that that's challenging for us in that as a community college, typically when the economy is in a downturn, your enrollment skyrockets. We are not seeing that. We had kind of what I would call a come to Jesus meeting with our president and our CFO last week. Our enrollment is down 24% over last fall. So it's panic time to the point where layoffs and furloughs are now being considered. I've been here 13 years and that's never been the situation, but now it's being considered. So now it's all hands on deck.
Yeah.
We're being asked to jump in. I've been making calls to potential students who haven't yet, completed the registration process. So they're asking for anyone and everyone that can help. But we really think that having it all online is affecting it. Students aren't comfortable with that. The students want to be back in the classroom. They don't want to do the online, especially. And you would think that the younger students would be the tech savvy ones that would be okay with the online, but they're the ones that want the social interaction. They want to be back in the classroom. They want to be on campus with their friends. They want that face-to-face instruction with their faculty member. However, our faculty don't want to come back. So the college is trying to balance that, but it's really, really, really affecting our bottom line and lots of it with. That's been unheard of. Our summer enrollment was up about 12%, which was very exciting. But now to find out that as of last week, we're down, 20, I think it's 24%. We have a little bit of time. Our classes start August 31st, but just hoping that we can split the difference because as being formerly from Florida, you know how much the state relies on the tourism industry.
Yes.
As we know, that's been gone. So on top of our enrollment being down, our funding from the state is also down significantly. So it's really kind of a scary time for us in many ways.
Yeah, Jessica, we see the same thing. My son just graduated, but so I'm on some Facebook pages that are run by parents, UA parent groups, and not by the university, just by the parents. And when at one point when UA was kind of making their adjustments and schedules and they put everything hybrid or online, parents freaked out, absolutely freaked out. And someone at UA didn't realize they were seeing that because they had already registered the returning students, and they were so upset about the idea of hybrid and online classes. They wanted face-to-face, particularly for the freshmen. So there's some face-to-face, but those, I think we're pretty heavy hybrid, a lot more than we are face-to-face. But it is, if you're trying to appease the students and the parents, they want face-to-face, not understanding how much has to happen for that to occur, and the rate of exposure goes up. So yeah, I understand what you're seeing, because I've seen the reaction from the parents. I mean, when that happened, UA's main line was flooded. The academic areas were flooded with calls and emails, and the parent Facebook page. I've never seen people so that mad and like, this is not what we signed up for. We signed up for face-to-face, and they haven't changed their mind. We're full occupancy, and they're pouring in. Parents are happy. They want, I guess they're trying to get normalcy when there's maybe not normalcy. I'm sorry.
Sure. I think we had kind of hoped that when the universities went to mostly online, that students would choose to go to the community college as an option because it's cheaper. So if you can't go to UF or FSU to be in person, maybe you'll just stay home and do online at the community college. However, we're being told that students that are on Florida Bright Futures or Florida Prepaid, it doesn't matter to them. So it's not really costing them anymore, except for maybe meal plans and residential expenses. But some just they're going to hope without hope that at some point they get to go in person. So they're going to stick with their home institution.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I've got a question from Erin in the chat window. Has there been any strong pushes from students or parents for reduction in tuition due to being online? What are you hearing? What are you seeing?
I can tell you what the parents were saying on the parent page. If it was all online, they weren't going to, couple things. Timing was really important because the returning students had signed up for apartments, and so they were already obligated. So some of them would have been coming anyway, but the parents still expected reduced rate, even if they were living in an apartment in the area. And then for the ones that would say, well, okay, well, my child can just stay home and I'll save the money, they are expecting a reduced rate. They were pretty adamant about that in the parent Facebook conversations. Sometimes I feel like I'm eavesdropping, but I always make sure they kind of know that I'm a parent but an employee too when I respond to something.
See, Lynn says nothing significant from our students or parents that she knows of. Kim says, I'm sure there is, but those concerns don't flow my way. Jessica says, we haven't raised tuition in more than 8 years. We also waived our parking fees during summer and fall. Our students pay a flat rate per semester, which is more revenue loss. At Duke, I mean, I've seen it. I've seen some pushback on the student Facebook pages, and really the only thing that Duke is doing differently is not raising tuition this year, but there's not any, reduced tuition fees here. So I wanted to pick up on something that Janine said a little while ago about people moving in and, being full up. Are you guys, well, I'll ask this specifically to Janine first. Are you having the same density of people in your residence halls this year as you would have in previous years? So are you having roommates and suite mates?
Wow. Full, yeah. Every room, they're all full. Now they did reserve 450 rooms for quarantine, should that happen. But otherwise they are full. Now we did have COVID testing before they're allowed into the front door of the residence hall. They have to have had their COVID test. They're a mix of where they were mailed to some are doing it here through the rapid testing. So that's been a mix. That's a lot. Trust me, there's been a lot of issues with that too, because it's so hard to get that many COVID tests out to people right now. So that's why they had to start the rapid testing here on campus, so they could move into their res hall. And then they have to do a health check app each day. There'll be some, certainly going to be some, what they call it, sentinel testing, which is kind of the random, you know, you may be called up, certain percentage every day will be called up for additional testing. I'm trying to think of everything they have to do. I think that's it. They have to have their COVID test. They have to have and training. They're taking online training.
Has anybody else reducing the density of their residence halls? And Kim, invite your assistant back.
Yeah, we're reducing density in the halls. We are only putting 1 student per bedroom. So if it was before, it's only a single now. So I don't remember exactly what our full occupancy was in the past, but we're only down to 1,500 people.
Yeah, we're doing the same thing, turning double rooms into singles. And this fall, only freshmen and sophomores are on campus. The juniors and seniors are remote. And that will switch in for spring term unless things are contained and everybody can be on campus.
We've reduced our capacity as well. We have removed all triple and quad spaces in the residence halls. They will all be doubles. And in the trad halls, they have reduced population to a certain, I'm not part of the process that they've done, but they've reduced the number of students who would be using certain numbers of elements in a shared bathroom, a shared floor bathroom to cap that. So based off of however many shower stalls, bathroom stalls, sinks, that kind of things, there might be in a specific floor's bathroom that affects how many students would be housed on that floor. But we've actually run into some issues where we had to make that change to our capacity, our density, and then we had more than that apply for housing. And so they've had to figure out how to make some changes to that. They ended up opening back up the time frame for when you could basically say, sorry, I don't want housing anymore. You could cancel your reservation in order to allow for some flexibility there and hopefully right sizing, especially as the university has, since the housing application deadline, they've now announced which classes are going to be online only. And so they wanted to allow students who would be online only to make that change if they wanted to. But I think they're still running into that issue where they have more applicants than what our density change will allow, which kind of puts us in a tough spot. But
Yep.
got to figure it out somehow.
Yeah, one of the things that I noticed recently in the listserv was people were talking about tracking capacity at your dining locations. How are you guys handling that? What are you doing for that? Oh, Dawn?
I wanted to let you all know something that we've learned about and we've engaged in some conversations this week. Open Table is using their app now on college campuses and allowing campuses and students to use it for free. So we're trying to get more information about that service, but you would be able to make reservations and the universities would not have to pay for use of that at this time. So I'll see if I can dig up more information about that and share that with you all.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, I'm sure we would all love to hear about that option.
I guess I wanted to ask a question, if that's okay, Laurie.
Yeah.
We're talking about masks, and one of mine was, just so far, my observation have been the students are a little subdued. They're not milling around campus, because we're half moved in. There's a lot out in the community, but they're not milling around campus. They're in very small groups, and they are absolutely wearing their masks. We're not having any issues so far with that. Is that what y'all are kind of seeing as people come back? I think they're not quite as happy-go-lucky, which I hate to see, but I think they're just being very cautious because they don't want to go back home again.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, they're probably more compliant with the mask wearing than the general population, if my few trips out of the house are any indication.
Okay, thank you.
Kim, you mentioned your issues are with your faculty and staff wearing masks.
Yeah, from what I understand, I have a team member that goes in once a week, distribute cards through a cashier's window. So it's like a bank where the glass goes all the way up to the ceiling. Well, old school banks, not current banks. But anyway, they said that they've had people that come in that aren't wearing masks, and it's not they're like, it's not the students. The students are wearing their masks. It's the faculty and staff that are not wearing their masks.
I was on campus yesterday, and I kind of noticed the same thing. I saw several faculty and staff that weren't wearing masks. I guess similar to what I've seen when I'm at Publix, or the grocery store. It just kills me. I just want to scream at people, especially being in South Florida where we're seeing such a surge, and we can't even get consensus to get our schools open, our K-12 schools. Come on, people. It's not asking you to do something major. And yes, I know there's dissenting, whether people really think it makes a difference or not, I don't care. That's what they're telling you to do. And there's been science proven that it does help protect you and protect the other person. If you happen to be a carrier, just do it. What's so hard?
Yeah, for sure. Is there, does anybody's school have any kind of, I don't want to use the word penalty, but is there any repercussion for not wearing your mask when you're on campus?
Our students will be escorted off of campus if they're not wearing a mask by security. They'll be told to either get one from their vehicle, go to the bookstore to buy one, or leave. I'm not sure about faculty and staff. I think, we're not as quick to confront those folks, but for students, they will be escorted off of campus.
We have a policy that is apparently being strengthened. I don't know, TBD on that, but it says, quote unquote, staff are asked to gently and kindly remind others to wear a mask, and that is the extent of it. So we have purchased disposable masks so that if someone arrives without one at our location, we can say, here's a mask for you, please put it on. But we've also taken the like extra precaution, and you might all have these already, but we're getting panic buttons installed because of just the reduced traffic on campus. The most of the people except for one person are women. I mean, I don't know how else to say that, but like they all, like size wise, pretty similar to me. It's something you need to consider. I don't mind telling someone to buzz off, but usually there's at least some people every year that are upset, and I think everybody's tensions are high right now. So we just wanted to take that extra step and make sure we felt like things were as safe as they could be.
I don't know about you guys, but in our card office, and we say on our website, and we have it posted in signage on our doors that we reserve the right to refuse to give you service if you don't wear a mask when you come to our office. I mean, are you guys advertising anything like that about your card offices?
We haven't advertised it yet, but I'm of the mind that it's just an expansion of the old saying, no shoes, no shirt, no mask, no service. Is kind of how we're dealing with it. And that our building is still locked down. Our campus is still locked down and will be until August 24th. Classes don't begin until September 2nd. So we're still, from the card office side, trying to mail out or figure out on-campus distribution with as many other ways instead of an in-office visit. So we're scrambling to get all that done and get as many cards out in the hands of new students and new faculty and staff in alternate methods. So we've still got a couple of weeks here. This would normally, well, actually, technically, it is still the last week of summer school, and then we'd have 2 weeks of quiet. It'll be exceptional this year with no athletes on campus before classes begin. No marching band, no this, no that. That would have started coming in actually last Saturday already. So it's going to be unusual.
Yeah.
I think, like many of you, the official it's not a campus policy, it's University of Wisconsin system policy is everybody has a mask if they're not in their own space, their own private space. The city has a mask policy, so there's a double on there as well. Housing keeps losing people and adding people as students are getting their schedules in hand now. I forget which of you had touched on that housing is freshmen and sophomores only. That's our case here as well. Encouraging juniors and seniors to find alternate space so that the freshmen and sophomores can have the rest of the on-campus access that they want and need. Our classes, those that will be face-to-face, are scheduled to be face-to-face through November 20th. And then after that date, so it'd be the short week of Thanksgiving and the last 3 remaining, everything will be remote, but the campus will not close down. Facilities will not close down. Classes will be remote, 100% remote. So the point being, we don't want to have to go through a big refunding process again, like we had to do for the entire month of April and early May. Residence halls, the last figure I heard, and this has probably declined a little bit, but we were at 95% capacity with just freshmen and sophomores. So for us, that's over 4,000 students in the residence halls. Everybody's just shaking their head saying, we'll see what comes.
Laurie, to answer your question about mask requirement, we actually had some conversation come from our general counsel that we weren't allowed to refuse service to somebody who wasn't wearing a mask because our local ordinances make allowment for medical reasons. If somebody has some sort of medical condition that would require or prevent them from being able to wear one. So we as a staff have kind of pushed back to say, well, how doesn't that put us at greater risk? What does that look like? And I think I've mentioned in other conference calls before, but we also are in a place where they're reducing the number of student employees or student volunteers that would usually help us with orientation, move in, all of that kind of stuff, because they're concerned about the high risk of exposure for students, but they don't seem to hold that same value for staff. And so in the same manner, there's sort of this extra wave of risk that we're being put at because they don't want to put other people at risk, which is really interesting.
Yeah, yeah. Dawn just posed a question here on the chat window. She says, at some point in the conversation, can we talk about, are any of your campuses talking about spring yet? And Kim says, spring, I'm wondering how far we are actually going to make it in fall, based on what's gone on in Georgia in our elementary, middle, and high schools. Aaron says, nobody's willing to address it now, but personal opinion will still be online. And, you know, that kind of speaks to, you know, some of the concern about safety that you're mentioning too, Lynn. You know, if people are not protected, if your faculty and staff are not as protective as your students are, you know, there could be another round of wholesale changes for spring, and nobody really knows what that's going to look like yet. I don't know about you guys. I'm just trying to get through August.
Now, did everyone have to sign as an employee? Did you have to sign kind of an acknowledgement of your training and an acknowledgement of the risk of being an employee?
Mm-hmm. We had something called the Duke Compact that everybody had to sign.
Yeah.
And it also talks about the daily testing, you know, reporting symptoms and wearing the mask and all the rest of that. Yep.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it's basically a liability kind of statement that you would sign in a contract.
Mm-hmm.
There was an online training provided to everyone with those kind of content pieces, but basically by finishing successfully the training and including like doing the cool little quizzes along the way, it's kind of said by doing this, you are acknowledging that you've learned all this stuff, but there's no like risk piece to it. And then everybody is supposed to be given as much flexibility to work from home as possible. And then if you run into an issue where that's not available for whatever reason and someone does not want to come in, that becomes an HR issue. We're unionized. So that's the way it's being handled, I guess, for us.
And Aaron, you said you had masks for anyone that we did too. We just, because of the enforcement, we didn't want to get involved in it. We feel that we're here to give service, and I don't need a student not able to get into a res hall at night. I feel that's very dangerous position to put them in over a mask. So we bought those one use masks, and we will gladly give someone that so that we can give them service. It may be catering, because yes, they all know they should wear masks, but I don't want to take that risk of someone not having the access they need. I'm not worried whether they can do certain things, but I am very worried about them getting in the res halls at night. So we're going to go that route, because it's really hard. I don't know of any university that really has laid out exactly what enforcement will be, because I've been hunting for that. I mean, the students are told there'll be disciplinary action. We're told there's disciplinary action. We're told we can be fired. Students can be asked to leave, but until you kind of see that in play, but it never really defines exactly who's going to do that role.
Right.
And I think, you know, seeing what's happening at retail locations and restaurants and things like that, where people are responding so violently, for lack of a better word. I mean, someone was just attacked at Sesame Place this week about a mask. Who of us is going to step up and say, please put your mask on? Because everyone's too afraid.
Yeah.
It's extremely unfortunate.
But again, I'm not seeing, so far, the students seem to be very respectful of it, because I'm assuming perhaps they understand what's at risk here. And that's their whole semester, the way they want it to be.
So Jessica commented in the chat that they're going to be making decisions in late September or early October about the spring. And Erin also mentioned that they're providing care kits to every resident, student, and staff member, including 2 hand sanitizers, 2 masks, and an ear saver. We're doing that too, except I don't know about the ear saver. What is that? I've never heard of that.
It's like a little thing that has like little pins on it or something, and you clip the plastic onto it so that it like doesn't touch your ears as much. I use it with the masks that are a bit too big, honestly, because it.
Yeah. That's cool. You can tell I haven't been on campus lately because I haven't had to wear a mask except right around in my general area. So maybe if I had to wear one all day, I'd want an ear saver too.
Emery's kit is also, I don't know what it's exactly called, but it's like a hard plastic tool where you could use it to push a door or pull a door, or use it to your number pad on an ATM and things like that. It's awesome. I'm like, can I snag one? Can I take one of these?
Cool. There you go.
It's made from brass, because brass, I think the other material is copper. Nothing can really live on it. Viruses and germs and that don't live on it very well. So yeah, you can pull things, you can touch things, but it's, I don't know, 2.5, 3 inches long.
So. That's awesome.
And if you don't have students on campus yet, something you're going to need to be very aware of is if one of your employees has a known exposure, they may not have it, but if they have a known exposure, they're gone for a while.
Yeah.
And it's definitely the right thing to do, but it can put a stress on your department. So
that's why we're not having any of us in the office at the same time, because we don't want to have to close down our office because we've all been exposed.
Yeah, unfortunately, we need to be, because we're hitting full volume. So
luckily for us, we have some departments that aren't like really customer facing. So I've got like 3 people in our marketing department that next week I'm training fully, so that we all need to be there too. And so if one of us is sick, or if multiple of us are sick, the marketing department is now the campus card office. But my colleague in the marketing department used to work at the campus card office. So it works out that way, but it's scary to think of what would happen if everybody kind of gets, taken out. Hopefully not actually taken.
So how are the appointment setting applications working for everybody? Or have y'all been successful in implementing something? You know, how are you managing your walk-in traffic?
So far, it's been easy because we haven't had very much. And so with the building still locked, the sign on the building at the various entrances and on our website, all are about call the office and make an appointment. We'll see what happens beginning around, I think the drop-off period for students in the residence halls where they sign up for a time to drop off their clothes, their initial round of stuff for their residence halls. I believe that kicks off on Friday the 21st and runs through the following Friday the 28th. We'll see what happens during that period there when they start realizing I lost my card, things like that. I don't know, but right now we're just encouraging them to call the office, make an appointment. We schedule them. At this point, we're keeping them 15 minutes apart. That probably will get too far apart, too long. Once the students start to get back here, I would envision we'll have to shorten that to maybe 10 so we can get more people in. Online photo submission has helped and will help going forward, but it won't end everything. There's still going to be some in-person stuff. Our glass facing, separating the workspace from the hallway where they walk by is now all in place. We didn't even bother with plexiglass because it scratches and gets dinged up and stuff too easily. So our student center building staff contracted out. We had aluminum frames and glass panels put in about 3 foot by 4 foot. It leaves about a 6-inch window at the bottom, and I don't know, there's a foot or two at the very top. It's not completely sealed off, but we have that to create separation between the customers and the staff as well.
So Kim commented that they have people making appointments to come in the office. You know, I guess no walk-in traffic at this point. Kim, what are you guys using for scheduling your appointments?
We're not doing appointments. The way it works is we used to use, we used Appointee, which was an software. We stopped using that when all of this happened. The way our process is working is everyone has to upload their photo through the My Photo. And then we have a form. We have a variety of forms that are on Airtable, which you fill out the form and it goes into a spreadsheet. And if you submit by a set deadline, it's ready. You know, if it's in by the Friday deadline, it's available on Monday. Tuesday deadline, available Wednesday. Thursday deadline, available Friday. And then Erin asked if there was any pushback. Not yet, but we aren't, you know, granted we're going to be at lower density, but all of our students that are coming aren't here yet. So we may get pushback, but between March and July, we were only distributing cards 1 time a week. And now we're up to 3 times. So if anything, we're increasing service and we're making it more easily available because our police department's not the easiest place to find. Well, it's kind of like we're gonna have to just see how it goes. I mean, we may have to change our procedures, but we'll see.
We're using Microsoft Bookings, and so far, so good. It's been working pretty well for us. Is anybody else using that or something similar?
We're getting ready to use Microsoft Bookings. I'm just getting it set up. We don't have the volume right now. We're still mailing the majority of our cards home, but we think that'll increase once we get closer to the start of the fall term. We're usually at about 50 or 60% carded by this point, and at last check, I think we were only 20 or 30%.
Oh, wow.
So we're doing some pushes right now, but we're going to use Microsoft Bookings we have 5 campuses. 3 campuses, we have an actual carding location, so we'll do appointments at all 3 of those.
So Jessica also commented on the chat window currently that you're mailing cards And volume for pickup is so low, you're not doing appointments. Yeah. So, yep. I'm just repeating what you just said. So what other topics are on your mind these days?
I'm curious as to how I see, you know, obviously I see Janine's in the office full time. Are most of you getting direction that you'll continue working remotely into the fall semester? Will you be back in the office full time, or kind of how is your university handling that?
We've been told to plan for till January. And if you can't, our leadership has told, I mean, this, you know, everybody's leadership is different depending how they take the message from the higher ups, but our leadership has told us, if you can work from home, stay working from home, and they don't really want us there until January, and I bet you that gets pushed back further too.
We're kind of in the same place. I know that I will be working at home through the end of the calendar year. But since my role is not directly customer service facing, our customer service offices are open and we do have staff there. But those of us who are on the team that work, you know, kind of in the background or in project management or on the IT side of things, we're all working from home.
Yeah, we're getting some mixed messages. I guess that's the reason why I asked. We have a college-wide return to campus plan that kind of has said, oh, you should be 50% of your staff should be back on campus for fall semester, but no one really knows how to interpret that. I guess kind of like Kim said, it depends on who your leadership is. And they kind of said, well, if you can work from home, you should work from home, but then they'll say, oh, we want 50% of people on campus. So it's really kind of a mixed message. Some concerns as our county school district is looking at for the K-12, most kids will be distance learning for the foreseeable future. So lots of us, myself included, that have small children at home, that you have to also worry about the homeschooling component. So I don't really know. We're just going to kind of keep doing what we're doing. Sam, who also works for me, and I alternate one day each a week in the office. We were asked to separate our time in the office by 48 hours. So if there was any exposures, that there would not be kind of cross contamination. So we'll just keep doing that for the time being and see what happens.
Yeah, we're being encouraged to keep working remotely if we can. My two full-time office staff members, their desks are, I don't know, about 12, 15 feet apart. I'm coming in more frequently now and will probably through the end of the month because I've got a bunch of hands-on work I've got to do with cash registers and tablets and other kind of stuff, because another part of my role here is computer support for the entire student union. Obviously usage of that will be down quite a bit, but I don't see myself being in 5 days a week, but I don't see myself working at home 5 days a week either. So I'll have to figure out what my balance is going to be for the fall in general on the campus. And even the chancellor reaffirmed it this morning when he joined our student affairs division meeting, that if you can work from home, continue to work from home. But everybody acknowledges that there's some operations that need somebody there. And some people are just more comfortable getting their work done in a work environment. It's just a matter then of taking the right precautions and setting apart and keeping masks close by and things like that.
I am a department of one. I'm the only person who runs our card program at our institution. So we're trying to sort of, my director and I are trying to decide between higher exposure and constantly being in the office versus, you know, potentially limiting the amount of service that we're providing to the students. So it's a difficult decision to make about when to be available and how much to offer, but still in the works to try and figure out what will be best for our population.
Mm-hmm. The Duke Card program is part of the IT department at Duke, and the majority of us outside of our customer service offices are located in a office complex off campus. And there's maybe 250 IT staff in my office. And I was telling Jordan earlier, I haven't been to campus since March 13th, or, to my office since March 13th. But I know a lot of work is going on right now to configure our office spaces and to lower the density of our work areas and things like that. And I don't know what to expect when I finally do go back, whether I'm going to see anything that looks recognizable or not. And or if it's just going to be so totally different. I may be working at home longer than I anticipate. We're drawing to a close at the end of our hour, but I want to make sure that we have a chance to touch on anything else that you guys are thinking about or concerned about. So I'll leave the floor open.
The only thing that's been on my mind that I haven't been able to kind of dig into is, how are you showing your team's appreciation when you can't be together? Or when
really
you know that there's a freeze on, merit increases and no travel and all those kinds of things. How are you showing appreciation?
I bought them chocolate bars last week, one day when I was in.
A little while ago, it was probably almost 2 years ago, we did a training that I organized at our leadership team level on the different languages of appreciation, which to some people is like foo-foo, but whatever. And so everybody kind of got trained on that, and then we developed an internal program that was a bit more fun, so that we could learn what all of everybody's languages of appreciation are. And then I've been sending out a newsletter that is just all fun things once a week. It's paused right now because I got to 20 and now it's August and I can't do it right now, but then I'll start back up in September. And we got a lot of good feedback on that and a lot of people sending in suggestions. So just to make them feel maybe that's not so much appreciation, but they feel more connected, I guess, to their colleagues.
We use Microsoft Teams for the DuCard team, so we can stay connected to each other all day, and we use that really in lieu of a chat program or anything like that. And one of the things that I've noticed, we're talking about language of appreciation, I have seen an increase in the number of or the frequency of times that somebody on my team gives a shout out to somebody else on Teams to say, thank you for helping me do this, or, acknowledging that somebody, gave them assistance or things like that. And I think that really goes a long way towards helping people keep that team identity and keep that, keeping that goodwill going and building. The other thing that my supervisor was doing with us up until August hit, and I think we'll do this again later in September, is she hosted a weekly lunch hour on Fridays, and we played online Jeopardy games, and we had some other things like that that were really fun. And she split us up in teams, so there was a little bit of competition there, and it was just nice, something that was totally not related to work. And it was very creative. I really liked it.
I just put something in the chat, but Kudo board is something that some departments on our campus have used before. You basically can create a board for someone and then send out invites to people to come write a message. They can add a picture or a GIF or any of that kind of stuff. And then you basically send it to the person. So it's just been, people use it for like farewell messages if somebody's leaving the institution, or like moments of appreciation for folks.
That's awesome. Well, great. Well, I think we're pretty much at the end of our session here. Any last thoughts? Any last words before we wrap up?
Okay,
Good
well,
luck. Take
go ahead.
care.
Yeah, take time for yourself this
Try to
month.
find ways to relax.
Yes.
Good
Thanks,
luck
everyone.
with openings.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I have another one of these scheduled for in 2 weeks, and so I hope you guys will all come back, and I hope that you will have some more stories to tell with no scars.
That would be awesome.
Yeah, and we have another event on Thursday. We're talking about the online photo submission processes, and it's several schools that use different online photo submissions, and they're just talking about, more about the process than the system itself. But they did this in January, and then they were going to present in Austin. And I said, okay, we recorded that. Do you guys want to like play the recording and then come on live? And they're like, no, everything has changed so much by now. So I asked them to get the band back together again. So they'll be on Thursday to talk about what they're doing. So that'll be really interesting to hear from 4 different campuses. So I hope everybody can sign up for that. Keep watching the NACU website. We're putting stuff on. We are not putting as much on right now because we know that you are all busy. If there is something you would like to see, if you want to facilitate one of these conversations or have a specific topic, let me know. And I'm happy to put your name on the marquee. So speaking of marquee, Laurie, thank you so much. You are such a great facilitator.
It's my pleasure. I really enjoyed it.
Here's your
Good to
kudo
see
board right here.
Woo!
Thanks, everyone, and good luck in these upcoming weeks, and hope to see you online again soon.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.